Now, you might have seen an article about using birds as drones, and it had no sources, so I decided to verify it. And yes, this technology exists, and it gets much weirder than you would imagine. For this particular firm, I can't find that they're actually doing this. Other people are. Now, there are many ways to do this, and yes, you can put an implant directly in their brain. You can also take control of the musculature. Now, this does work much differently between mice and rats and birds. For rodents, they usually put something directly into their brain, and that goes to the reward center. So when they do the task that we want them to do, they then get dopamine. For this one, they had direct brain-to-rodent control. The mice had been trained beforehand, so if they get a little bit of air on their right or left whisker, they knew to move left or right. Meanwhile, a human would wear an EEG cap, and their brain signals would then be processed through a computer and sent to the rat. They could effectively think about moving, and the rat would then move. Why do this? Honestly, probably to show it can be done, but there is questions as to whether or not rodents could be used as drones. Again, insects are just simpler to use, and I don't feel bad about it, but at least they're getting dopamine and they think they're operating on their own free will. That's probably going to give me an existential crisis. Now, for birds, apparently you don't even have to hijack the reward pathway. You can put electrodes directly into their brain and control how they move. Yes, your brain runs on 10 watts of power. It is essentially something that runs on electricity, and if it runs on electricity, you can activate various pathways to make you do stuff, not too dissimilar to when you decide to eat candy and you feel good. You are activating those pathways on your own. Now, I've seen a few different papers on the birds, and they put electrodes in different parts of their brains, one of which is the Locus Coeruleus, which is involved in stress responses. And in birds, if you stimulate it, they can fly higher or lower. You can read this paper if you want to. Now, birds do have some additional utility because they are comfortable with backpacks. They could carry something that records data, whereas a mouse or a rat might not be able to, or just wiggle out of it. I am not saying I am for this kind of technology. It actually seems pretty unethical, but it's interesting. It's actually kind of bumming me out because at least the mice or rats feel like they're probably operating under their own free will. The birds don't even get a reward for flying. They just fly and don't know why it's happening. I know, maybe I'm anthropomorphizing, but birds can be pretty darn intelligent. Now the million-dollar question that of course everyone wants to know, can we do this with human beings? I actually don't see why not, but I'm not sure why you would want to do that. For mice and rats, they actually had to train them to know to go left or right based on brain signals. But, I mean, yes, if you can do it to a mammal, you can probably do it to a person. I don't see that happening. It would take an awful lot of work. Perhaps the more interesting question is, can we use this to control avatars in video games? And yes, absolutely. People are working on that. You can control a virtual avatar, or you can control one in real life, and I think there was a movie about that. But this could make it so people can operate robots at a distance and perhaps have a lot more control over it, because just when they're thinking about doing something, the robot does something. You know, when the robots rebel, or in this case I'm also adding the machine-augmented animals, I'm on their side. Follow for more.